The Silurians, mistakenly broadcast as Doctor Who and the Silurians, was the second serial of Doctor Who's seventh season, first broadcast in 7 parts from the 31st of January to the 14th of March 1970. Now, once again, this is a story I have reviewed before, but I remember first time around, I don't know, maybe I just watched it a bit too fast, or I didn't appreciate how long it was, but I just didn't think it was necessarily all that good first time I saw it, but I've been thinking for a while that maybe I should try and review it again, and so like Invasion or the War Games, I decided to give it another chance, and I'm happy to report, second time around, I did like it a lot better. Now, the story features the first appearance of Bessie, the Doctor's yellow car, who he would use throughout his time as the Third Doctor, and can be seen in the background of some later episodes. But, anyway, Doctor Who and the Silurians have lasted 7 parts, and the basic story of it is the Third Doctor, played by John Pertwee, and his companion, Liz Shaw, played by Caroline John, they're called up to a set of caves by Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart, played once again by Nicholas Courtney. Now, it seems in these caves that a power station is being built, or rather, a power station is there, and they've been having some problems. The power station is run by a Dr. Lawrence, played by Peter Miles, and as well as several other people, including Phyllis Dawson, played by Thomasine Heiner, and they've been experiencing power losses. And what they eventually discover is that there's a set of creatures within the caves that lived before humanity. Those, of course, being the Silurians. Silurians in this story, at least body-wise, are played by the likes of Pat Gorman, Paul Barton, Simon Kane and John Churchill, while their voices are provided by Peter Halliday. And what the Silurians are attempting to do, like in a lot of other stories, they want to take back the planet. They say that the Earth is rightfully theirs, and they want to find a way to try and take it back. Now, the Doctor does try and reason with them, and even manages with one of them to suggest that maybe they can find a way for humans and Silurians to live in peace. Now, while watching this part once again, I couldn't help but compare it to a later Silurian story, The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, with the 11th Doctor, and I did see some comparisons, which is only to be expected, given that these are 2 stories involving the same creatures. And the Doctor ends up suggesting the same thing that Amy and Nazreen did in Cold Blood, which is, while one of the Silurians debates whether there's space up on the surface for Silurians to exist, the Doctor does point out that there are several areas on planet Earth that, well, humans can't live in. Places like the Australian outback, the Nevada plains, the Sahara Desert, and that the Silurians are an advanced race, and if they gave them those areas on the surface, Silurians could surely live in peace with the rest of humanity. But, like with Cold Blood, while there are some Silurians who do think it's a good idea, there are others who say that, well, the Earth is ours, we're going to take it back. Another character who they end up encountering during this story is Masters, a politician played by Geoffrey Palmer, who is trying to find the best solution for this, even if it doesn't necessarily always go that well. Now, Geoffrey Palmer is actually an actor who appeared several times in Doctor Who over the years. He first appeared in The Silurians in 1970, which is this story right here, The Mutants in 1972, and Voyage of the Damned in 2007, where he plays the captain. Yeah. Now, the Silurians do try 2 different plots to try and rid the Earth of the humans. Number 1, they release one of their human prisoners who they've taken captive, and they've infected him with a disease that they know will cause problems on the human surface and will cause them to die out. Which is, if I'd watched this story any other time, probably when I reviewed it a few years ago, I probably just would have thought, oh, okay, it's a virus that they're trying to release to cause problems. But then, given everything that's happened in recent years, especially with COVID, yeah, this suddenly becomes a lot more real. And the Doctor while he is able to reason with the leader of the Silurians in order to find a problem, he ends up getting the vial of the actual virus and tries to figure out a cure, which he and Liz do eventually do. And the other technique the Silurians do, once they realise that their virus has failed, they attempt another thing, which is they go up to the power station and they basically force the Doctor into their plan. Their plan is to remove something like an upper layer of the atmosphere, so that not so that basically humans will die from the extreme heat from the sun's radiation, and they'll be able to live there because they're cold-blooded. They won't be affected. To which, when the Brigadier asked Liz exactly what they're planning to do, she was like, well, they're trying to remove this upper layer of the atmosphere. It's like, well, what will that do? It's like, we'll bake to death on a cloudy day. Which is kind of pretty scary to think about. They do, however, manage to find a way to defeat these rogue Silurians and get them to retreat back to their caves. And by threatening something like nuclear abomination that will last something like 50 years. They eventually do manage to kill the new leader of the Silurians, and the Doctor says that he still plans to release the Silurians in time, so that maybe they might find a way to live on the surface in peace. And thus comes one of the controversial aspects of the episode. Kind of right at the end, as the Doctor is planning a way for the Silurians and humans to live in peace, he and Liz are preparing to leave. They have to do some repairs on the car when they suddenly see some explosions. It turns out the Brigadier has activated a set of explosions to basically seal the Silurians inside their caves forever. And the Doctor immediately knows what's happened and immediately feels bad about it, and somewhat feels angry that these creatures who had a chance of life on the surface are now being denied that because the Brigadier sealed them in. And this was one story that apparently is controversial in that the Doctor would remain somewhat angry at the Brigadier for quite a while on this. He would eventually forgive him, but another comparison I've seen online is with the Christmas Invasion, when Harriet destroys the Sycorax ship. It's essentially the same thing, and you're left wondering how long the Doctor will hold this grudge. But I'm happy to report, Doctor Who and the Silurians, second time around, I liked it a lot better than I did the first time around. The first time around, I think I watched it a bit too fast, so I didn't appreciate how long it was, and upon watching it through this time, I see why people love it and why it's one of their favourites of Jon Pertwee's era. Not necessarily mine, but I can definitely see why people love it. Anyway, there's my quick little re-review of the Silurians. I'm happy to report this time it's a lot better. Anyway, until next time, see ya.